I would like to preface this video by saying making movies is difficult. It takes a lot of time, a lot goes into it. There are many ways someone can mess up when making a movie. That being said though, sometimes you get a movie like Madam Web, all right? I mean, what can I say?
That is one big pile of shit.
Some movies suck. It is what it is.
You've seen Madam Web?
No, I haven't.
I've seen Madam Web. It's
Have
good.
you?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Well, these matches say you're lying.
I cannot talk about Madam Web without trashing it. It's just not possible. So I kind of understand why Chris Duckman made the video he made on it. I have other thoughts about his video, but we're here to talk about Madam Web. It's kind of difficult to talk about this movie and movies like this without feeling like an asshole. The reason I say that is because this movie has so few good qualities. I don't even think I have one. Really. Which doesn't happen often. Normally in the videos I make, I try my very best to say something nice about a movie, most of the time. This is one of those very rare instances where I'm sorry, okay?
Is this real?
So let's talk about Madam Web. First off, I refuse to believe that a single soul on this planet asked for this movie.
That is wrong, Elvis. I specifically requested Madam Web.
Come on, let's just be real. Madam Web, this is what she looks like in the comics. She has some pretty cool powers, but she's ultimately just an old blind woman that sits in a web chair thing.
It's been 84 years.
I can see how she could possibly complement someone else's movie, but a movie about her, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know much about Madam Web, all right? I haven't read her comics. The small amount of info I know about this character is from what I've seen online. This movie baffles me because it's a theater-released Sony Marvel movie, and the director is S.J. Clarkson. This person only has one other movie under their belt. It's called Toast, and it was released in 2010, and I'm guessing most of the people watching this video haven't seen it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everybody loves Toast. I'm the one person that hasn't seen it. S.J. Clarkson is mostly known for directing TV shows. And honestly, some pretty great TV shows at that. She's directed episodes of Dexter, Succession, and House. And you might be thinking, well, she's made some great TV. Obviously, she could make a great movie. Well, I don't think that's the case. With a show, there's the showrunners who decide the direction of the show. And then the directors who deliver the individual pieces of that story. For movies, the director is in charge of mostly everything. Instead of making this tiny piece of this overarching narrative, you're in charge of the entire narrative. It's quite different. Who wants a free gaming console? Huh? I bet you do. Well, keep listening. All right, thanks to today's sponsor, you could win one. You know them, you've heard of them before. That's right, it's your boy, Raid Shadow Legends, baby. With over 4 million users and 250 million downloads, let's just be honest, Raid is a mobile gaming powerhouse. It's cross-platform, you can play it anywhere. You can play with friends and family in your own clan. Now, I know they're giving away a PS5, but let's be honest, the only reason you should get Raid is because of this character, Allure, the demon spawn. Good God. Are you kidding me right now? Enough. I'm gonna be honest, I committed some sins today. Can you blame me? If there's even a fraction of a chance that someone like this is down there, I think it's worth it. Raid is celebrating the arrival of spring in Teleria with a special Spring Hunt minigame event starting from April 15th to May 30th. Players will need to find hidden items around the Mistwood. They simply download Raid using my link or QR code, then head to springhunt.plarium.com. Enter your Raid ID and start searching for missing items. Once completed, you could win real-life prizes, like a gaming console or Amazon gift cards, with a total value of $10,000. You can also win in-game loot, like legendary champions or skill tomes. If you haven't started playing Raid yet, then what are you waiting for? Click my link in the description or scan the QR code on screen to get insane bonuses. You will immediately get a huge starter pack with the epic champion Tayrel from the High Elves faction. Many Many players consider Tyrell to be the very best epic that Raid Shadow Legends has to offer, and you'll get another starter pack after reaching level 25 that includes Epic Rector Drath. She is one of the strongest support epics that you'll definitely need in your collection. These champions are only available after using my custom link or QR code. Come find me under the name Elvis the Alien, alien spelled A-Y-L-I-E-N, because someone out there, some very special person, took my name. Unbelievable. And join my clan, Alien, A-Y-Y-L-I-E-N, and we'll be legends together. Thank you so much to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. Now back to the review. Madam Web has 4 writing credits, one of which is the director, who has only one other writing credit for a show called Mistresses. 2 of Madam Web's other writers must know each other pretty well, because they've only worked on the same movies together, and all of them are bad, and I'm not joking. Matt Shazama and Burke Sharpless have both written the screenplays for Dracula Untold, The Last Witch Hunter, Gods of Egypt, Morbius, and Madam Web. It's kind of insane that these guys keep getting work. The 4th and final screenwriter for Madam Web has only one writing credit, and that's for Madam Web. They're also an executive producer for this movie. It looks like they've produced a bunch of movies before, but yeah, this is their first time writing for one, and it shows. I'm not saying that it's impossible to write a good movie your first time around. There's the obvious example of Robert Eggers, who's on an incredible film streak right now, and there are other examples of people making good movies on their first go. This is just not one of those cases. I'm just gonna say, I don't always agree with Rotten Tomatoes, but the 12% for this movie, it makes a whole lot of sense. According to IMDb, Dakota Johnson left her agency WME in favor of CAA less than a week after the first trailer for this movie dropped, and according to Variety, this raised industry eyebrows and generated some unfounded rumors that Johnson didn't like the movie, especially since she made fun of it while hosting Saturday Night Live.
So it's kind of like if AI generated your boyfriend's perfect movie.
However, The Hollywood Reporter found that since CAA was also willing to represent her production company, Tea Time Pictures, along with her indie film, Daddy-O, it's likely the timing of her agency switch was nothing more than film business shuffling. Dakota Johnson just did not give a shit during her press tour for this movie. It's so funny.
Do you remember the first Marvel female character that you fell in love with on screen?
Let me think.
I don't.
At one point, she says she loves Marvel movies, you know?
I have always really loved Marvel movies.
Kind of like in that one video when she said she loved limes because there were limes sitting there and she didn't know what else to say.
I love limes. I love them. They're great.
And it was a complete lie.
What do you do with all of those limes?
It was hard to just ignore them, so I just lied. I love them.
Well, guess what? In a different interview, she said that she's only seen 15 minutes of one Marvel movie before.
What % of Marvel movies have you seen?
4%.
4%.
Which is like 15 minutes of one.
I love Marvel.
I loved Marvel movies.
During this same interview, she was asked if she could name the 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, and she completely failed.
Can you name the 3 Spider-Man Tom Holland movies?
Yeah, Spider-Man and the Goblet of Man.
This girl doesn't give a shit about superhero movies. It's hard to blame her if she just did this movie for the money. So who exactly is Madam Web anyway? Basically, she's an old blind clairvoyant woman with a ton of mind powers. She was born without eyesight, and she kind of reminds me of an OP female version of Charles Xavier.
First things first, I am a lady.
So let's go over her powers. She has astral projection, telepathy, mind alteration. Basically, she can make you think what she wants you to think. She has the ability to sense incidents before they happen. She can perform surgeries with her mind, and she can see the future. Again, I haven't read the comics, but it looks like she's probably one of those characters that other characters seek out for answers to something. You know, like that old wise woman that hangs out in a hut, and the main characters are like, oh my God, did you hear about this person? They can probably lead us in the right direction. So they go and have a conversation with them, and then you never see them again. Honestly, if they didn't make this an origin story and instead just focused on an old blind woman, I would probably be a lot more interested in this movie. It's not every day that you see an old woman as a superhero, and not just any superhero, a psychic powerhouse. Give the role to Meryl Streep or something. And you've got yourself a superhero movie that is unlike anything that's out there right now. I would be interested in seeing that, and I'm not lying. As far as how the story would work out, you'd have to have some master storyteller to make this compelling, I think. I'm just so bored of origin stories at this point. It feels like every month we're being introduced to another superhero from the comics that were buried in there somewhere that they haven't gotten around to yet. Oh yeah, Dakota Johnson's character in this movie isn't blind. Remember how I said that she was born blind? She was born without eyesight. Not anymore. And it's not like they would be copying Daredevil because he wasn't born blind. Instead, they decide to copy Daredevil. It's a lot more interesting when someone becomes blind because of something. And what makes her blind, it's very, very funny.
Okay, that will also piss people off.
The movie starts by focusing on a scientist named Constance. This is Madam Web's mother. She's taking pictures and notes on a spider web in the rainforest. They're searching for a very rare breed of spider because it has this super venom that can do all sorts of crazy things. And they tell us that nobody has ever captured one alive before, which seems pretty improbable if you ask me. And it's not like the spider is super tiny or something, like nobody has ever found it before. You want to see what the spider looks like? This is the spider. It's huge and bright red. Her security guard is named Ezekiel Sims, and he's the bad guy in this movie.
When I say I fucked your mom, you best believe I actually fucked your mom.
He says this to her: I agreed to provide security for you because I thought
you were close to finding the spider.
What? Why would he say that to her? Why would he be so overt about his intentions? He might as well have told her, I want this spider for some reason, and I'm not gonna tell you why, but hurry up because I'm not going to steal it from you, but I totally will. Also, it's raining in this scene, and they even point out the rain because Constance takes his umbrella. In the next shot, Ezekiel is in the same rainforest, but the rain has just stopped, I suppose. So that's strange. And then Constance immediately finds the spider that nobody has been able to find until just now. And it's this giant bright red spider. How has nobody found this thing? Ezekiel picks up a gun and shoots everybody and then tries to steal the spider. Constance watches this happen and says, I don't understand, over and over.
I don't understand.
Oh, you don't, do you? The guy who clearly wants the spider shot you and the other people around as soon as you found the spider and you don't understand. She also says, you're making the wrong decision, when he had already shot 2 people. Like, bitch, he already made the decision. What are you talking about? You need to give him the spider. You're pregnant. Think of your child. The acting during this sequence is terrible. Although we do find out later in the movie that she went to the forest to find the spider to cure her child. Like, that was the whole purpose of finding the spider, right? Because this spider's venom could potentially cure her unborn child's disease. So it kind of makes sense that she doesn't want him to take it. But if he's going to kill you, is it really worth it? You found one, I'm sure there's another one right around the corner. This woman is not acting like she just got shot. And then suddenly mysterious spider people of the forest swing down and save Constance as she's lying there dying. The editing and shot composition here is so confusing. There's this one guy who climbs down a tree and another who's carrying 2 giant, what are those things? They look like huge nails or something. They cut back and forth between these spider people so awkwardly. It's so clumsily edited, it's insane. And then they show this guy who's carrying Clarence away, and he's bouncing off of trees like he's straight out of Twilight. It's pretty obvious when you watch it that they just sped up the footage, and it looks so bad. The camera spins around constantly in this movie, and it's super disorienting. The spider people give Clarence a sort of ritualistic spider bath where they help deliver her baby after one of these super spiders bites her. It's followed up with some terrible ADR.
She is strong. She will come back when she needs answers.
These people are in a cave, but there's barely any echo to his voice. He sounds awkwardly clear when he's barely opening his mouth to speak. It sounds like they just plopped the raw audio on top of this scene and then called it a day.
I will be here for her.
We fast forward in time, and we're introduced to paramedics Cassie Webb and her friend Ben, played by Dakota Johnson and Adam Scott respectively. They really love to spin the camera around in this movie, and sometimes they do it for no reason, and it's kind of distracting. Normally when the camera does stunts like this, it's to emphasize the scene. If someone's doing a stunt, the camera follows them, and it's like, oh god, that's so cool. But in this movie, it feels very out of nowhere, most of the time. So Cassie helps someone out of a car, but then gets trapped in it herself as it plummets into the ocean. We then get a scene of Cassie experiencing her powers for the first time. I guess she's a late bloomer. She's in this web. Very clever. And then she touches a balloon that explodes full of blood. And then she sees this huge illuminated S sign. Is that an S for spider? She's then saved by Ben. We see Ezekiel Sims again, but this time he's a rich man. Oh geez, he has a lot of money. And he gets the women. He must have gotten rich by selling that very rare spider. Just kidding, he kept it in a cage. Apparently he let it bite him, so he got superpowers, and he used those powers to become rich. I always forget how hot it gets in here with the light and everything, so I have to take my hoodie off. And then Ezekiel has a nightmare. And this scene is so bad. I don't know if it was just bad direction or what, but Tahar Rahim's acting in this movie is pretty terrible. He has this forced accent, and he's trying way too hard to be this evil guy.
Where's my spider?
It comes across way too forced.
They took my spider.
And I think it was an overall detriment to the character. This nightmare consists of a choppily and chaotically edited scene of these spider women beating him up using various powers and abilities. And then he falls out of a window screaming, and it's so funny. He wakes up and then he injects venom into the woman he just slept with. He secretes the venom into her with like his skin oils or something. It's very, very clever. Basically, he used this woman to get information from her so he could find the underage spider girls from his dreams that he keeps having over and over, because he watches them kill him every single night. The scene that follows this one isn't terrible. It shows Cassie adjusting to her newfound abilities. She witnesses things that have happened and will happen.
We just did this.
She watches as time folds in on itself. She's desperately trying to control her chaotic environment, only to find that she can't control everything, even with this power.
I don't know, I just have a weird feeling.
The next scene, however, is terrible. God, the villain in this movie is so cheesy. I can't handle it. It's so bad. And not in like the endearing way. I just can't stand the way he talks.
Was it worth the trouble?
Also, apparently they were able to make a digital render of the three girls in his dreams. Like his assistant was able to make these images of these three girls from his dreams based entirely on his memory. It's kind of insane how accurate they are. Bitch, those are just pictures of the girls. This next part is slightly cheesy, but I kind of liked it. Cassie is watching A Christmas Carol because there's that scene of Scrooge visiting a different reality, and Cassie can relate to that.
Hate to break it to you, Scrooge. You can't change anything.
And then she learns that she can change what's about to happen because she has a vision of a pigeon dying by flying into her window, but she's able to save its life by opening the window. But it seems like her powers are mostly random and chaotic. She has very little control over them. They just happen sporadically. So I'm not sure how they could help her at all. Although she is developing her powers, so she won't know how to use them right away. I guess that kind of makes sense. Then we see Cassie on the subway, and she sees flashes of things that could have happened or things that will happen, which are all pretty violent and show Ezekiel killing the girls. And Cassie's trying to figure out if what she's seeing is real or not. She then realizes that this is what's going to happen, so she intervenes. She forces the girls off the train before Ezekiel can get to them. Sydney Sweeney in this movie is meant to be a teenager, and they make her look younger by putting glasses, a skirt, and a wig on her. Why not just put a pacifier in her mouth? I mean, it wasn't really necessary, I don't think. They're being pursued by a Spider-Man looking character. This is evil Spider-Man. You know how it was a thing to make Superman evil for the longest time? Whenever you would see him, he was the evil version. Well, I guess it's Spider-Man's turn. Even though this isn't Peter Parker, it's this random guy named Ezekiel, and he's the evil Spider-Man. And I'm saying that because his suit is basically just a evil Spider-Man suit. It's so weird because he has very little connection to the actual Spider-Man. They just gave him the Spider-Man suit so they could use it in the marketing to fool people into thinking that Spider-Man might be in this movie. Spider-Man sells. In the comics, Ezekiel Sims is this old guy with super bushy eyebrows. I kind of wish they used his Earth 4 suit instead of this black spider suit. I know black is like the evil color. Although if they used the Earth 4 suit, people would probably confuse him with actual Spider-Man. It just looks cooler. It's got like the buttons on the side. So then Cassie steals a taxi and they all drive away. These three girls get in a stolen taxi with a strange woman because there's this strange person in an edgy Spider-Man suit after them. And they're all like, "Oh, geez, thank you, weird lady, for saving us. Nothing weird about this at all."
Feels like a kidnapping.
Cassie then throws Maddie's cell phone out the window out of fear of them tracking it. Cassie stops the taxi and she's like, all right, you guys can leave if you want. Maddie responds, okay, that sounds good to me, bye. But before she can leave, Cassie then says, actually, never mind, you can't leave.
Sorry, no, you can't.
So she drives off with all of them in the car still. She brings them all into the middle of the woods, and none of them are freaking out for some reason. They all have this nonchalant conversation. Cassie even tells them that she can see the future, and none of them freak out.
I can see the future.
As far as these girls are aware, they were just kidnapped by a mentally ill woman, and she drove them into the middle of the woods, and she's probably going to leave you there, so they should be so sketched out by all this. I know they're being chased by this spider person, but still, I think I would have a lot of questions. And they do ask her some stuff. I think I would ask to be brought home. What I wouldn't do is trust this random person that just kidnapped me, especially when they say they can see the future and they're saving me. Apparently they've all interacted before in some way, like Maddie gave her the finger one time.
Who flips off an ambulance?
If anything, that should make it weirder, right? Like Cassie was picking out targets or something. It's just weird, okay? What makes it even funnier is that Cassie leaves them there. She drives away with the taxi and leaves them stranded in the woods in the middle of nowhere and tells them to wait. My God, what are they doing? She does this because one of the girls makes a connection between spiders and, you know, the spider guy who is chasing them.
A spider person.
And Cassie has this light bulb go off in that moment, like, oh my God, my mom researched spiders. There might be a connection there. Never mind the man who's chasing me who can crawl on the walls and has spider webs all over his suit. So she drives home to read her mom's research on spiders. And immediately she flips to the right page about the spider's super venom.
From spider venom.
Don't you guys think that's so weird in movies? When someone's about to do research on something, they pick up a book and they flip a page and oh my God, it's right there.
Of course, here it is.
She could have easily just brought the girls with her to her place. They decide to go to a nearby diner to get food, and Cassie is surprised when she comes back 6 hours later and they're gone. Did you expect them to sit in the woods and play rock, paper, scissors for the next 6 hours? Cassie finds her way to the diner, and the girls are all standing on a table dancing for a bunch of guys. Very normal behavior. And this is before TikTok or Vine or YouTube. Now, I might be wrong, but I don't think people were doing dumb shit like this before internet clout was a thing. Ezekiel, the evil spider guy, arrives. He assaults this random guy and then snaps Sydney Sweeney's neck. The camera does more of those sweet, totally not jarring flips, as Toxic by Britney Spears plays in the background. It's kind of strange watching this scene, listening to Toxic by Britney Spears as this guy in a Spider-Man suit kills a bunch of teenage girls. It's kind of weird, right? Is it just me or what? Intoxicate me now. Tonally, it's all over the place, you know? The deaths of teenage girls, Toxic by Britney Spears, Spider-Man costume guy. Then we're back in the woods with Cassie. It was all a vision. So Cassie speeds off to the diner in hopes of saving them. The girls hop up on the table and start dancing just like in her vision. This is so weird because why aren't any of the diner workers stopping them? At mostly any restaurant or diner in the world, you would be stopped almost instantly if you did this. But these girls dance up on this table for a couple minutes without anybody doing anything. So then Cassie drives the taxi into the diner, hitting Ezekiel. She saves the girls and drives away. As Cassie's driving away with the girls in her car, after driving directly into a diner, mind you, and hitting someone, she says to these girls, oh my God, you guys are so stupid. Your futures were almost so different. You're lucky I was there. Why are these girls going along with this psycho? It makes no sense. I know the spider guy was there, okay? But still. So these girls are just blindly putting their faith in Cassie. They have no idea why this guy's after them. Cassie has no idea why he's after them. It just makes very little sense that these girls would be like, okay, cool. You can see the future. This guy's trying to kill us for no reason. Let's go and hang out in the woods for 6 hours while we wait for this mentally ill woman to come back and do whatever she wants with us.
Definitely not the opening of a horror film.
So then Cassie drives the girls to a motel and then astral projects to the diner where she has a telepathic discussion with Ezekiel. There's this strange flashing light in the background during this scene. Like there's a guy back there taking pictures with the flash on over and over. It's not just Tahar Rahim's acting that's bad in this movie, the lines they give him are terrible as well. So you put two shitty things together, it's like super shitty. Like during this scene, for example. Just listen to these lines.
Those girls cannot exist.
How come you get to decide?
Because I'm the one with the powers. Did you think you could beat me with your mind?
Oh my god. Those girls cannot exist. How come you're the one to decide? Because I'm the one with the powers. And honestly, it feels like a 12-year-old wrote this after reading their first comic book. Cassie learns exactly how Ezekiel's poison works because he said this during their telepathic discussion.
No one survives once enough poison enters their system.
So yeah, she shouldn't know anything about how it actually works, right? Maybe he has the venom in his mouth or something. He has to bite you. How do you know what it does, huh? So she explains it to the girls the next morning and then teaches them CPR. So remember Cassie's friend Ben? Well, she has him look after the girls so she can take a vacation to Peru to go find this spider tribe in the jungle somewhere that she learned about through her mom's research. So yeah, she goes to Peru and she uses a map that her mom drew to find them. I'm sorry, I don't care how good of a friend you are to someone. If they come out of nowhere and they're like, all right, I'm housing these 3 random girls and they're in trouble, and you don't really have a choice. They're going to stay at your place, so here you go. Here are these 3 random teenagers. Even if you were like, all right, fine. You think you would have some questions? Who are these people? Why are they in trouble? What's going on? Why do you have to go to Peru? I'm so confused. But no, Ben's like, all right, sure.
I can't pretend to understand what's going on here.
He's probably just a massive simp or something. Maybe if I do this, she'll notice me. It's already insane because he's
Brother-in-law.
to someone who's pregnant, like 9 months pregnant, basically. She's gonna burst at any moment. And then he'll have to look after a literal newborn while having these 3 random teenagers in his house. I mean, okay, sure. While in Peru, there's this terrible edit, and then Cassie runs into the same man that saved her mother all those years ago. But this time, he's not wearing his tribal spider gear. He's just in regular guy clothes now. He had a change in fashion sense over the years. I suppose he can also see the future, so he knew that she would be there. So these 2 people literally just met, okay? And then he asks her, do you trust me?
Do you trust me?
No. No, I don't. I don't know you. Who are you? And then he pushes her soul into the same, like, little pool that her mother gave birth in, and she experiences visions of her mother's life. We learn that she went to the forest in the first place in order to find a spider that has venom, that has the ability to cure her daughter's genetic neuromuscular disorder.
I'm sorry to tell you that your baby has myasthenia gravis.
Despite what the film tells us, according to IMDb, myasthenia gravis, what Cassie was supposedly diagnosed with, is not something that can be diagnosed before birth, and it's not a genetic condition, but an autoimmune disorder. Cassie tells her mother that she succeeded in curing her in the astral plane, and then they hug. And then this random guy that she just met in the rainforest tells her that she's destined for great power. But her mother didn't have these same powers when they met in the astral plane or whatever. So she just believes that she saw her 30-year-old daughter from the future? That's normal. I would think I was going insane. So Cassie arrives at Ben's house after her holiday in the rainforest, and she finds that they're all missing. Ben's
sister-in-law
was in labor, so he took her and the 3 girls to the hospital. Cassie gets a vision that they all die again, so she rushes to save them. And this is like a full-time job for her now, isn't it? Getting a vision that these girls die, intervening and saving them, and that just happens over and over and over. It's like Final Destination. You can't escape it unless there's a Pepsi-Cola sign there to save the day. You might be confused by what I just said, but just wait. Also, thank God nothing happened to these girls when Cassie was on holiday in the rainforest, because that would have been bad. Thank God their impending doom occurred only after she got back. Ezekiel, the evil Spider-Man, is about to blow up the girls with a grenade. Yes, he's going to kill them with a grenade. I think killing them with this super venom would be a lot easier than killing them with a grenade. Just take your suit off and approach them and be like, hey, how are you? Put your hand out and shake their hands one by one. Wow, they're all dead now. But no, this guy's filled with rage, so he has to go out with a bang, I suppose. How does Cassie stop Ezekiel this time? She hits him with a vehicle again, but this time it's even more ridiculous. She steals an ambulance only to drive it through the wall of a parking garage so it flies in his direction. The funniest part is that the vehicle would have flown over him, but he decides to jump so it hits him in midair. Oh my God. So that worked out well. You could have just sat there and watched it fly over your head. I guess he's kind of like a cat, you know? Whenever something scary happens, he can't help but just bounce, you know? Oh shit! If I had a dime for every time Cassie hits Ezekiel with a vehicle in this movie, I would have 2 dimes, which is not a lot, but it's strange that it happened twice. The end of this movie is so bizarre. Cassie and the 3 girls end up in a firework warehouse, and they start putting flares into the crates of fireworks in order to distract Ezekiel. There's a helicopter watching the chaos as Cassie blocks random fireworks from hitting them with a piece of broken steel or something that came out of nowhere. Remember the random red S in her vision earlier? Well, it's from a massive Pepsi Cola sign. A rogue firework blows a hole in the top of the building, I guess, and another is shot directly at Ezekiel. So he punches it at the helicopter and the helicopter goes down. I don't even think he meant to do that. He just punches it and it hits the helicopter. Wow, okay. Ezekiel takes his mask off at the end of the movie for no reason other than for more screen time. Maddie uses a piece of metal to skate like Legolas from Lord of the Rings for a second because she can do that, I guess. Sydney Sweeney runs at him only to get laid out, so she's now hanging on for dear life. Wow, thanks Sydney. That was a huge help. All 3 of these girls are in danger, so Cassie has to make a choice. Instead of saving one, she decides to save all 3 with her mind powers. She like astral projects her body to all 3 girls to help them, but she can't move while doing this. So I guess she's just hoping that Ezekiel will be a good boy and let her do it. Obviously, he doesn't do that and he punches her. I don't know what Cassie was thinking. You might want to take care of the threat first before you try and save someone.
Oh, what the hell? See? She didn't see that coming?
I think he might try and stop you. It just, he's kind of been trying to do that for the entire movie. The final confrontation, the climax of the movie, takes place on a giant Pepsi Cola sign. You might be wondering how Cassie defeats Ezekiel. Well, she doesn't. The Pepsi sign does. It falls apart in such a way where it pins him down, and then the giant S swings down and makes him fall to his death, which mirrors his dream with the same awful scream. He then gets squished by the giant P from Pepsi, so you can see him as the camera zooms out with his little face in the pee hole. Why is the end of this movie a giant Pepsi ad? Cassie falls into the water below with a ton of fireworks shooting down. Isn't it kind of strange that these fireworks are shooting literally everywhere? They were confined in a building, but the characters are outside of this building, but the fireworks are shooting everywhere. Everywhere. I don't get how. I get that maybe some might shoot out windows or something, but come on, dude. Where are all these fireworks coming from? Like, the fireworks are up here in this building. Cassie fell in the water down here. Way, way down. How are the fireworks shooting down this way into the water? Like, what? It just... You know, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, to be honest. One of these fireworks even hits her in the face while she's in the water. Then we see the giant S from the sign fall into the water. Why is this S still illuminated? What is powering this S? Maybe the fireworks are doing it. Or maybe she's doing it with her mind powers and the vision. I'm trying to find some sort of solution to this. I don't know why in this video in particular, I'm leaning to this side so much. I'll change it up and lean over here. Sydney Sweeney swims down and saves her. And they use CPR to revive her, and it's cute because, you know, she taught them how to do that. Oh, I guess Cassie is blind now because of the underwater firework that hit her in the face. The writing in this movie is so amateur and uninspired and perfunctory. At the very end of this movie, Sydney asks a newly blind woman, "How is your eyesight?"
How's your eyesight?
What the fuck do you think?
To which Cassie responds, "I can see better than I ever have."
I can see better than I ever have.
And then one of the other girls asks, "Oh yeah? Can you see us in the future?" And Cassie responds, "Yeah, I can see you. Standing up for what you believe in. Never giving up. Whatever the future holds, we'll be ready. And you know the best thing about the future? It hasn't happened yet." God. Dakota Johnson tried her best, all right? But at the end when she's trying to sound all serious and wise, it comes across so fake and forced. Like, oh my God, she's blind now, so she's automatically a 80-year-old wise woman that has been doing this for decades. Like, what? Also, I should mention that I think this movie was meant to take place in 2004. They say it takes place in 2003, but that doesn't make a lot of sense, because we see a PSP in one scene, which wasn't released in Japan until 2004, and the Britney Spears song Toxic didn't play on the radio until 2004. And the computer that Ezekiel's assistant is using is definitely not from 2003. And in one shot outside the Grand Central Station, you can see the One Vanderbilt building, a skyscraper that completed construction in 2003. 2020. Honestly, I don't know what year this is meant to take place in, now that I think about it. It's kind of crazy how much Dakota Johnson trashed her own movie pretty much immediately after it released. She said this: "I've never really done a movie where you're on a blue screen and there's fake explosions going on and someone's going, 'Explosion!' and you act like there's an explosion. That to me was absolutely psychotic. I was like, I don't know if this is going to be good at all. I hope that I did an okay job." She also said that movies like this are bad because they're being made by committees, and art does not do well when it's made by a committee. I think I agree with this. I don't think that's always the case, but I think when there's too many cooks in the kitchen, most of the time it results in a messier outcome. So yeah, that's my review of Madam Web. I thought it was bad. Let me know what you thought of this movie in the comment section down below. If you like this shirt, you can get it at alienclothing.com. Same with this hat and the hoodie I was wearing in the beginning of the video. That's AYYLIEN clothing.com. You can get a whole bunch of stuff there, like this. Yeah, that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Spider-Man! Spider-Man!